a fellow online by the name of the Muslim Cowboy.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah. Said Adam was a Muslim, not a Jew or a Christian. Prove me wrong.
And by the way, this is coming from the same individual who said that he would not rather hesitate to do anything that his prophet did. So that includes child marriage, that includes caravan robbery, that includes abolishing adoption, that includes a number of things, including but not limited to being a false prophet. So if the Muslim Cowboy is upholding his information, I think he's either, and this is with the best of intentions, hopefully not actually aware of anything he's talking about. Because if he is, that's worse.
Yeah. What is the, by the way, as our resident go-to guy on matters of Islam, what is the fatal flaw in the statement that Adam was a Muslim?
The fatal flaw is essentially trying to play both sides of a word's general meaning as opposed to its explicit meaning. So when Muslims would say Jesus was a Muslim, that we're all Muslims because we submit to the one God, what they're doing is what's called the equivocation fallacy, that they would use one word in one sense and claim it also means the same thing in another more explicit sense, the broad, the narrow. So in a broad sense, when you say Muslim, you're using the word for one who submits or one who prostrates. So if anyone in history ever made a gesture or regarded authority other than
Bowed
themselves,
down before God.
or anybody for
Yeah.
that matter, they would be, in the Arabic language, a Muslim. But in that, when a Muslim, a adherent to Islam, says they're a Muslim, it doesn't mean that they're one who submits. It's how they're submitting that's the devil in the details. So when they say that Adam's a Muslim, do they mean, and this is what you have to specify, that he observes the 5 pillars, that he affirms the 6 articles, that he's recited the Shahada in Arabic, recognizing Muhammad, who wouldn't be born for another 7,300 years from the time of Adam, guesstimating by even the Quran's, or rather the history of al-Tabari's records, would acknowledge Muhammad as his moral paragon and authority, would affirm Unitarian monad monotheism as opposed to Trinitarian monotheism or polytheism, the belief in one God and unique nature, or belief in many gods, and on it goes, that they can't eat certain foods, that they have to fast during Ramadan, that they recite certain prayers at certain times and in certain ways, all of which these things are fundamental in not just being a Muslim, but how you submit.
So, kind of going around the block on all of this, there's a really important principle that I think can be applied across the board, not just on the interwebs, but in personal conversations. Like when someone says, well, I'm a Christian, or I believe in Jesus. There was a time, perhaps, where there was enough of a cultural consensus on these things that you didn't really need to explore that. But that time is long gone. It's like talking to a Mormon, and they will say things to you like, well, I believe that you're saved by grace and through faith alone.
What do you mean by grace? What do you mean by faith? What do you mean by alone?
Yeah.
Because Mormons, have very different definitions for those words than that would actually from the Bible.
Right. For instance, they believe the word saved literally means all you get is a body for judgment.
Yeah, you're preserved is what they mean.
Yeah, you could be eternally lost and saved by their lights. So you really have to ask those questions, like when that Muslim cowboy says Adam was a Muslim or Jesus was a Muslim. Okay, define your terms. What do you mean by Muslim?
And also, what do you mean by Adam? Because the Islamic version of Adam is very different from everything ever that would affirm him.
But when we talk to people, and sometimes this is very helpful when you're dealing with cults, obviously, but when you're dealing even with the average person out there on the street these days, they say, "Oh yeah, I believe in Jesus." Okay, that's awesome. Who, in your opinion, is Jesus Christ? Just ask them the question, and make sure that you're defining your terms, because I think a growing segment, if not a majority in our country, Jesus is just another symbol on the coexist bumper sticker. and one of all equally valid ways to get to God,
despite
So-
what he said to the contrary.
So, again, ask questions. It's very interesting how in Acts 19, we see that the Apostle Paul in Ephesus, one of his favorite techniques was reasoning. And the word reasoning in the original language is the word dialogeo. We get our term dialoguing from that. So asking questions, again,
and listening to answers.
the idea of putting the pebble in someone's shoe, getting them to think through their own spiritual convictions, really, really huge.